Hi everybody. Somebody pointed out in my last The News in Poetry on the 30th of July that I'd made a bit of an error on one of the lines and I'd said the wrong name. So I'm going to redo it before I get hung for treason. So yeah, on a serious note, this is a deep one, quite serious, so trigger warning. This one's called Children's Home Abuse Scandal. Sadly, I've had my eyes open now long enough to know that this poem most certainly won't be popular no matter who had written it. See, people have been crying out for years about abuse, but today I heard on the news that 700 children were victims in just 5 care homes in around 30 years. But sometimes I think that the reason is that all too often people shun away and nobody hears, and we fight a losing battle when those that act are just the few. We see and hear the truths on the TV screen, stories of Prince Andrew and Epstein, but what is the threshold and when do we care, when the stories within our own communities remain unseen? Because despite what I used to believe and what I used to think I knew, that people would naturally act and fight when they could is too often far from the truth. Until you've seen the true isolation of a whistleblower, you might not even know yourself, in the midst of it all, having to stand tall whilst dark-minded folk will plot their fall. And big props to those that go out of their way to expose. I've seen those folk on Facebook videos, but that's not as deep as the rabbit hole goes. It's been good to catch a few off their guard, but I just can't help but think that we're just scratching the surface. And despite the connections and how powerful some people can be, even if it seems that they've managed to groom the whole community, never lose faith if you've in you to care. You're never alone and the stories are out there. See, my point is, I guess, is that to sort out this mess we need to look at other angles, and it's genuinely great to be up in arms about scandals, but too often the things that we see on TV that seem to make people surprised is what's been going on behind the scenes all along, and the signs were right in front of our eyes. And I'm not saying that most people don't care, because if it were your own kids then most of you would, but we have to start wising up and be looking out for everyone's children if we want any of this to ever change for the good, because charming manipulators and sneaky snake predators do a good job of making others feel misunderstood. Just how many suicides has happened is likely unknown, that was due to so many trying to speak out but had ended up just feeling completely alone. See, sometimes the trauma of not being listened to or not being believed when you've expected the truth to prevail is enough to put such a shock into you that accepting this reality is just so hard to do. A big massive respect to those that never gave up, because many will not know the depths of this fight. Being let down on such a level by almost everyone around you, it messes you up when you know it ain't right. But see, it never has to be this way, a will to cover ups and bystanders. Maybe we can change this one day. Because the predators know that they now have the power, and when your eyes are open you can see them so smug. Some people might not even understand what I'm saying, they might think that I'm seem strange. But maybe it takes for us to admit our faults, step up to the plate and don't make the mistake. See, even I've kept quiet on social media these days because I'm one of the people that now knows, and I'm truly amazed to see and know that those that speak out will likely not gain the attention of people that help, but instead the attention of the disturbed and deranged. Those that need voices simply don't get heard. A target on their head. Some end up dead whilst their story is not even told with a single word. So this is why we only hear these stories decades later, and finally knowing the truth might seem great, but us human beings, we like to point the finger, shift the blame, but maybe, just maybe, we can try to improve upon ourselves, and when we are needed, have our eyes and ears wide open and step up to the plate. Whether you're a police officer, social worker, or the everyday folk on the street, I truly believe that we need to work a lot harder if this element we are going to defeat. Because not only does ignorance make nobody hear, but then on the other side we've got the element of fear. You see, the current state of them being so organised whilst we close our eyes, or sometimes just simply haven't seen any signs, just means that we all end up with more cries. They love nothing more than knowing the state of our own ignorance. A world that needs more thoughtfulness is perfect for a predator. And maybe those sorts of people are unfortunately cleverly right when they see the vulnerabilities that others don't see. A person that's had issues, an outcast from society. Nobody's really interested. They're vulnerable, no family that have a clue what's going on. No eyes there that will see. A hard truth to accept, I know, but maybe before I go I'll just say this. Make yourself a cup of tea now, or do what you've got to do. Take a breath, because yeah, I do understand that this is quite a heavy truth. But don't be scared, don't run away. I know that it's a lot to take, but it's not returning back to those understandings that will be our worst mistake. But on a needed bright note, what can we take from this? Do you believe you've got the power to change the world in which we exist? Are you one that shares with me the deep true sense of pride, to know we need a brighter world in which you stood by my side? That's the end of my poem, Children's Home Scandal. If you want to hear more, like, comment, share and all that, and check out benwestwooduk.com. Until the next time, all the very best. Big love.